Hey, good morning. Today we're going to start by breaking down radicals. We're going to simplify radicals. This is going to help us when we are working with the quadratic formula here. So, first thing we need to do is we need to make a factor tree. So I have the square root of 45. So I need to think about, all right, what goes into 45? Well, there's several different ways we can break this down. It doesn't matter. Okay, we're not going to use ones. We're not going to write 1 in 45 because that didn't get us any further than what we were at. So I know 9 times 5 is 45, and 5 is prime. Remember, a prime number is a number that nothing will go into it except for 1 in itself. Now, 9 is not prime. I know that 9 is 3 times 3. 3 is prime, so I'm going to circle those. We're going to circle all the primes. Those are the numbers. If I would take 3 times 3 times 5, guess what? I'd get back to 45. Now, when we're doing this, I need to have a pair because we have a square root. If I have a pair of 3's, I can cross them off, and I'm going to write it on the outside of my radical. And I still have a leftover 5. He's all by himself. He's my leftover. He goes back in the fridge or back inside the radical. Now, the reason we can pull a 3 out is because 3 times 3 is 9, and we know that the square root of 9 is 3. We don't know what the square root of 5 is, so 5 has to stay on the inside. So in order for us to write a number out here, we have to have 2 of them. We can cross them off and write it just once outside. So let's try the square root of 108. So I'm going to break this down. I know 2 goes into it because it's even. 2 goes into it 54 times. Now I know that 9 times 6 is 54. We could have also taken 2 times 27. Okay, 9 is not prime. That's 3 times 3. And 6 is not prime. 6 is 3 times 2. So those are prime. Those are our ends. Now if I look at this, I have a 2, a 3, a 3, a 2, and a 3. So I'm going to group these 2 3's together because remember that's 9. Square root of 9 is 3. I'm also going to pair up these 2 2's here. I can cross them off. We're going to write it once outside. This 3 is my loner. He's my leftover. So my leftover goes back in the fridge. Now, we're multiplying all these numbers together to get to 108. I need to multiply these numbers as well. 3 times 2 is 6. Square root of 3. Now, what if I have the square root of 13? If I make a factor tree, 13 is already prime. So it would be left as the square root of 13. Let's try the square root of 20. Okay, I know 5 times 4 gives me 20. 5 is prime. 4 would be 2 times 2. 2 is prime. So I've got a pair of 2's. I'm going to write it once. And my leftover 5 goes back in the fridge, goes back in my radical. So today when you're doing your assignment, when you're writing your answer into Canvas, the first thing you need to write would be the 2. The next thing you're going to have to write is the 5. Now, in this case where it's already prime, the first box, so this is just kind of like if I have x, what's my coefficient in front? My coefficient is 1. Okay, so my first box would be 1 because there's always a like imaginary 1 kind of there. And then our second box would be 13 because that's underneath our radical. Let's do a couple more. Let's do 162. Well, I know that it's even, so I'm going to divide by 2. You can use a calculator. You'll get 81. 2 is prime, so we circle it. Okay, 81 is not prime. We need to break it down. 9 times 9. 9's are not prime. However, if you see this, you're like, oh, I have a pair of 9's. I'm just going to cross off my 9's, write my 9, and use my leftover 2. That's fine. Otherwise, you can break down 9 would be 3 times 3 here. Those are prime. 3 times 3 there. Those are prime. So I've got a pair of 3's. Another pair of 3's. My leftover 2. Well, when I'm finishing this off, 3 times 3 gives me 9 times the square root of 2. So remember in Canvas, 9 goes in our first box, 2 goes in the second box. Let's try one more. Let's try the square root of 160. All right, well, I know 16 times 10 gets me to 160. 10 is not prime. Let's see, 2 times 5, those are prime. 16, I can either go 4 and 4, 2 and 8. Let's just go 2 and 8. 2 is prime, 8 is not. Let's see, 2 times 4 gives me 8. 2 is prime, 4 is not. 2 times 2. All right, so we've got a pair of 2's, another pair of 2's, and then I've got these, a 5 and a 2. Those are not the same, so those are both my leftovers of 5 and 2. So my final answer is going to be 4 times the square root of 10. So 4 would be the first number I would write. 10 would be the second number. All right, I'm going to have a short little assignment for you guys to do, kind of like an exit ticket. And then you'll be set to go for the next day, hopefully when we are doing the quadratic formula. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will talk to you soon.